I have thought a lot about whether or not I should encourage my son to become a pastor. I've not made a decision about it, so I guess this is some more of that thinking. There's no question in my mind about ability. He's got the gifts to be a fantastic pastor, but that also means that he has the gifts to do a lot of stuff. Should I encourage him to be a pastor or to get a real job? That's one of my jokes, that this isn't a real job, that I and two of my brothers became pastors like our dad, and our other brother went and got a real job. It's mostly just my self-deprecating humor, but there's a slice of truth to it. Not truth like this isn't a real job, but truth like it doesn't feel real sometimes. There was an Iddo in the Old Testament whose son was named Ahinadab and was one of King Solomon's administrators. He was governor of one of the 12 districts of Israel, and the duty for which these governors were noteworthy was that they provided the supplies for the royal household, one for each month of the year. There surely were other duties too. All but one of the governors are given Ben so-and-so names, which means the son of so-and-so. Ahinadab ben Iddo was Iddo's son. He served in Mahanaim. So what we know about Iddo is that he had an important son. And we can guess that he was proud of his son, that he worried about his son working so closely with such powerful people as the wisest and wealthiest king to rule over Israel, that his name was spoken every time his son's name was spoken, and that the name Ahinadab ben Iddo told people who Ahinadab was by telling people where he came from, that he came from a proud and worried father named Iddo. We can only guess whether Iddo would have preferred a different line of work for his son. We can assume that governor under God's choice as king over God's people was certainly a godly enough occupation. Was it too godly? I try to wait as long as possible to tell somebody I'm a pastor, no matter what my relationship to them is or will be. A lot of the time, I'm forced to admit it right away because they already know. Sometimes I get to wait longer, minutes, months. Another lot of the time, I never tell them. But that's usually because our relationship lasts for one meeting, if you can even call it that. Am I ashamed that I am a pastor? Not really. It's just that as much as pastor doesn't feel like a real job to me, it seems that pastor doesn't feel like a real person to most people. Anyway, it colors the relationship in a way that is distinct, mostly irreversible, and not always desirable. That's why I hold that card close until I'm forced to follow suit and play it. And that's why I hesitate to encourage my son to choose that card for his hand. It's a godly enough occupation. Is it too godly? Have we separated church and state, secular and religious, to the degree that one is real and the other is not? Is pastor that different from administrator? Are they far too different? Are their fathers proud and worried about different things, or the same things, in different ways? I don't know. Unless this is your first episode, you know that this is not an answers podcast. It's a questions one, but it's one in which I do tell you what I do know, along with what questions I think about. And here's what I know. Jobs aren't real. They're not who we really are. People are real. We're made with eternity ahead of us. Pride isn't real. Neither is worry, but they feel real enough that they matter. You're not godly enough. Neither am I. There's no too godly for you, nor for me. And we are where we are doing what we're doing by some combination of our choices and God's. And we get to tell ourselves stories of pride and worry about what we do, or we can listen to God's story of His love. And that story tells us who we really are, what's really real. And that story reveals to us what it is that we want to do. Spoiler, it's love. You want to love. Love's what you were made for. Love is what's real. Should you be a pastor or not, my son? Get a real job and love people. You and I are dust and breath, loved by God, bought by Jesus. This podcast is written and produced by me, Ethan Cherney, pastor of Bethel Lutheran Church in Menasha, Wisconsin, member of the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Outro music arranged and performed by Mr. Peter Shawy, who is like the winter rains. Keep in touch. You can find us on Twitter or Facebook, and also send an email to dustandbreathpod@gmail.com. There's a website with some swag and ways to donate if you're so inclined. But more than that, thank you for listening and sharing with a friend. Reviews on any of the podcasting tools also help promote the show. Now, go do what God called you to do. Be who God made you to be. See what God can do with dust and breath and faith in Jesus, His Son.